Okay, hi everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this first meeting for developing the design guidelines for the Dundalk Main Street and Commercial Revitalization District. This evening, we will be going over what this committee is going to be discussing and a little background on this project. So first, we'll just be introducing the panel. We'll be going over backgrounds on how we got here and existing programs and incentives for the area. We'll be discussing the design review panel. We'll be going over the larger goals for the committee and talking about the timeline. And we'll also be discussing various online engagement goals that we have as part of the Department of Planning website. And we'll be establishing meeting times throughout the winter. So I'm not sure of everyone that we have here today, but I was thinking it would be good if we all could introduce ourselves, but instead of going around randomly, if we could just go in order of the advisory committee here on this list, if everyone can see it. I know some people are calling in, and if you're calling in, don't worry about introducing yourself. But if we could go down this list, so starting with Letitia Braxton of Blue Ocean, and then going down to Vicki Young of the Dundalk Chamber of Commerce. It should be in alphabetical order. So if you just want to say a little bit about who you are, the organization that you are affiliated with, and anything else. So we'll start with Letitia Braxton of Blue Ocean. And I have to unmute everyone. Okay.
Letitia is not here this evening.
Letitia is not here. Okay. And Matt D'Amico is calling in with the design review panel. So next would be Dawn Frazier of the Dundalk Renaissance, or Dundalk Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, she just got tied up. She's our president of the chamber.
Okay. Is Shirley Gregory here?
I don't believe Shirley was able to attend. She has physical therapy, I think.
Okay, and then it looks like Stephanie Jameson of State Farm.
Hi, Stephanie Jameson. I'm a business owner in the shopping center as well as a property owner. I own the State Farm agency there, and I've taken advantage of many Baltimore County programs and appreciate them all. So I'm glad to be a part of this.
Great, thank you for being here. Jessica Lilly.
Hi, I'm Jessica Lilly. I'm the president of the Old Dundalk Neighborhood Association. I'm newly the president this year, so I'm looking forward to helping as much as possible get our area in better shape.
Okay, great, welcome. And I don't believe Amy Menzer of the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation is here, so Gloria Nelson of the conservation teams.
Amy is here.
I'm here. Sorry, I was having issues with my internet, but I'm here.
Hi, Amy.
Sorry. Hello.
Oh, that's fine. You can introduce yourself if you.
I'm executive director of the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation. I've been here longer than I care to think about. But happy to be part of this.
Okay, Gloria Nelson.
Hi, I'm Gloria Nelson, the president of the Turner Station Conservation Teams. We have multiple teams within our organization, and we are extremely active. We are the community association, and I'm glad to be a part of this team.
Okay, Laura Quintana. I'm not sure.
I don't see Laura on here.
Okay, Nick Steigerwald.
Hi, I'm Nick Steigerwald. I'm the business development manager for the Dundalk Renaissance. And I act as the Main Street manager for the Dundalk Town Center.
Okay, and Vicki Young.
Hi, I'm Vicki Young, and I'm the executive director for the Dundalk Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourselves. We also, I believe, have Councilman Todd Cramdale. I'm not sure if he was able to join us. Councilman, are you here?
Joe, he's in session right now.
Okay. And we have Doug Anderson, Senior Council Assistant for the 7th District for Councilman Crandall.
Hi, everybody. I'm pretty sure just about all of you know me.
Okay. And we have Rick Johnson. Hi, Rick.
Hey, everybody. Rick Johnson with the Department of Economic and Workforce Development. I'm the East Side rep for the county. Nice seeing everybody tonight.
Okay. And Pete Christmas.
Good evening, everyone. Pete Christmas, County Executive's Office.
Okay. Emery Wang. I believe Emery's here. We also have Marta from Planning.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marta Kuchitska. I'm with Department of Planning. I'm planner, and I'm also design review panel coordinator. And we have the other East Side planner here, East Side coordinator, Lori Hay. So, Lori, do you want to introduce yourself?
A participant has left the meeting.
Hi, I'm Lori Hay. I'm the Eastern Sector Coordinator from the Department of Planning.
Okay, and lastly, we have Amy Mante.
Hi, I'm Amy Mante. I'm the Division Chief for Community Planning.
Okay, thank you all for going through that. I just think it's good that we can all get to know each other. Glad we are now all affiliated and we know a little bit more about who and what organizations are represented by this committee. Okay, moving on. There are a variety of districts that overlay Dundalk that offer state and county resources. One of those is the State Sustainable Community designation. The Dundalk Sparrows Point Sustainable Community was renewed in 2018 for another 5-year term. This designation offers a variety of incentives to business owners that include things like transportation, economy, environment, quality of life, housing, local planning, and land use. And there are designated organizations within Dundalk that are eligible for these funds, and they work in the community. So, for instance, the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation would be one of those, and they work, in the historic Dundalk area and throughout the sustainable community area. As part of this program, the plan outlined various topics to discuss, and some of those include housing programs, reduction in foreclosures and residential vacancies, increasing property values and home sales, and other things like quality of life, which include educational opportunities, civic amenities, faith-based organizations, sense of place, that sort of thing. So as you can see, the sustainable community covers a pretty wide area, all the way from Trade Point Atlantic and Sparrows Point, throughout most of Dundalk. In addition to the sustainable community designation, the county has commercial revitalization districts. These districts are located in commercial areas throughout the county. There are 18 officially designated commercial revitalization districts throughout the county. The county has, as part of this, there are various programs, including the Architect on Call program, the Business Improvement Loan Program, and Commercial Revitalization Tax Credit. There's also the Commercial Revitalization Action Grant, which goes for things like holiday lighting, welcome signs, website development, street trees, security cameras, farmers markets, and more. In addition, there's also the Dundalk Main Street program. In these areas, communities have made a commitment to improve the economy and appearance and image of their traditional downtown business districts. This program is through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. There are 30 Main Street designated places throughout the state. Dundalk is just one of them, and it focuses on things like design, organization, promotion, and vitality. If we look at the Commercial Revitalization District, which is the county program, and the Main Street program, we'll see that their geographies are very similar, with just minor differences between the two. We can refer back to this page as needed throughout the presentation and later on in the discussion. As for the design review panel areas, the design review panel areas are designated areas that help ensure high design standards. There are two types of areas: commercial, non-residential review areas and residential review areas. The panel consists of 9 members knowledgeable in matters of design, including architects, landscape architects, engineers, and other design professionals. The professional members are appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the county council. The county executive appoints the chairperson. The panel is designed to encourage design excellence, help establish a common understanding of design principles and standards, and help achieve the desired character for the area. Throughout the county, there are design review panel areas. As you can see, though, Dundalk is not one of them. There are, for example, there's one in Catonsville, there's another one in Towson, and another in Essex. Part of our discussion here will be on whether there should be a design review panel that more or less overlaps with the Commercial Revitalization District and Main Street District. So that is a discussion that we will be having here. On to the crux of what we're going to be discussing in these meetings. There are existing Dundalk facade guidelines. These were developed by the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation and have mainly been used internally to the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation and individual property owners or tenants using these resources. Because there is this existing document, the Department of Planning thought it would be best to use these guidelines as a jumping off point. Thank you very much to Nick Steigerwald and Amy Menzer for developing these initial plans. They're very helpful. The guidelines go through and provide recommendations for design standards to include and not to include. This is just one example. As part of these meetings, we will be adding to the existing guidelines, and as a part of that, these guidelines will then be used to inform the design review panel of the quality design standards that this group comes up with. And then the panel will use that information as a part of their review of projects as they come to the county. It won't be a magic fix, and it won't happen quickly necessarily, although it could, but these developments will be processed whenever they come to the county for approval, and then they will be going in front of that design review panel, which will look at these guidelines. So the role of this committee is to provide outreach to the community. So we're hoping that the members of this committee will talk with other people in the community and see what they have to say and kind of report back or just kind of act as a sounding board for this committee. We hope that we'll get a better understanding of community interests and goals, and an understanding of the business community interests. And we'll work with the county and outside experts to run ideas off one another. As I mentioned earlier, we will be having a variety of online engagement tools to help us out throughout this process. We will have a hub page that will soon be up and running that will hold all of the presentations that are a part of this committee, both the PDF version and also the recorded version. We also have interactive tools and a survey of design preferences that will go out as soon as we can get the hub up. So in the next few days, we will be sending out information on how to access the hub and also that design survey that we are hoping that members here will be able to widely circulate throughout the community. As far as the timeline goes, this is our best estimate right now. Tonight's the kickoff meeting. We were hoping to have one more meeting in December, but I think that's going to be tough to do. So we're now thinking that the next meeting will be in January. In the winter, we will be holding the three more sessions. And during that time, we'll be developing a draft with the suggestions that come from the survey and this committee. We'll be reviewing that draft. And then in May, we are hoping to introduce a resolution for the design review panel area and adoption of the guidelines. So I wanted to start this meeting off. Well, it's basically to introduce this, what this committee is here for, but also we kind of want to get things started on what to think about throughout these committee sessions. So some themes, they're fairly broad, but are what makes Dundalk unique, looking at the Dundalk Main Street and commercial revitalization districts holistically, what are design characteristics that you like and don't like? Are there focal points or nodes within the existing area that need particular focus? And lastly, what should the boundary for the design review panel area be? If you have any questions throughout these meetings, please feel free to reach out to me at my email. That is the easiest way to find me. And you're also free to reach out to anyone else and also look at our hub page. So thank you very much for attending tonight. We got these aerial imagery views from a drone that flew over Dundalk a few weeks ago, so maybe you saw that flying around. We also had one that was going over Essex, so they got these awesome pictures for us. So thank you all for attending tonight, and I'm going to go back to our themes page so we can kind of get this discussion going. And I'm going to unmute everyone. And I think the place where we might want to start out this discussion, just so it's not a free-for-all, is talking about the design review panel area and how there isn't currently one for Dundalk, and whether or not we think as a committee that there should be one. What are the positives to having one? What are the downsides of having one? So if we have strong opinions on that, I think this might be the best way to get things going. If you'd like to offer your comments in the chat box, that works well. Or if you'd just like to chime in, that works well too. So I think Amy Menzer, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot here, I was thinking if you'd like to discuss a little bit about the DRC and their work in this so far, that might help get this discussion going.
Okay, sure. So the Main Street area, which has been the focus of our design guidelines, which is really a way for us to, we've used grant money to incentivize businesses to make improvements to their businesses, to the facades and the sort of point of sale interior spaces. And so it's been a carrot, not a stick. It's something that doesn't have teeth in the sense that take the building next to Royal Farms that was there. Royal Farms bought the building and demolished the building. There was nothing in place to protect that building from being demolished or prevent it from being demolished. What we have right now is something that doesn't require anybody to follow our fantasy guidelines, whatever they might be. It just, suggests, encourages, et cetera. And then if you want our grant money, you have to play by some minimal rules. We've tried to be pretty flexible in what we even put together for our grant because, we're dealing with small businesses that usually it's a small business that doesn't have a lot of money of their own to put into something, or they're working on pretty small profit margins. The owner of the business may or may not be paying themselves from week to week. And so we're trying to be mindful of those issues while on the other hand, wanting to be able to expect more from our neighbors and from who are the people owning the property in our community, and how can we encourage them to have a higher standard in whatever renovations they're doing, install signage that's a little bit more interesting than a flat, printed poster sign or a banner hung up over the sign that was there from the previous business, et cetera, those sorts of things that happen. And so the way we've run our design guidelines is that we've had a small volunteer committee, which in the past has included some board members, some staff members, sometimes like a neighborhood association person, or two, the goal being to sort of involve people that, that have a stake in the community in a broad sense. Nick, you asked me to give an overview of something, and I missed what you asked. Joe, is it okay if Nick just jumps in and?
There's a question from Nick Steigerwald about.
Sorry, I see this.
Can you give an overview of what county design review committees do in other areas?
So that everyone on the call who might not be familiar with what they do has an overview of what a county design review committee does in Essex and Catonsville, so we can know what we would be looking into here that doesn't exist.
That would definitely be the next step. If I could just have one more minute, Joe, which would be to just say, I think one of our concerns with sort of design, a sort of county design review panel situation, is that if we make things too hard for a property owner or a business owner to make improvements to their business, then given that, it's expensive to run a business in a location where, everything is old. And so guess what? It's not compliant. And so you may want to do one thing, but guess what? That triggers, I don't have an ADA bathroom. I've suddenly got to do that or whatever, which is great. That's needed. But the point is, we've been concerned about, we want to incentivize people to invest more and at a higher standard and be able to expect more. But we don't want scare people away or from investing. And I would call the Dundalk commercial area a very weak market in terms, the rents are really low. There aren't, it's not Owings Mills where lots of people want to open a business or whatever, an area where people are willing to pay more to be there because there's a lot of activity there. So those have been some of the things we've been concerned about, which is not to say that we don't want to pursue that. So, and I think next question about what's different is exact. Yeah.
So I can give a brief overview of what the design review panel does. If someone else would like to chime in and give a better overview, you're more than welcome to. So the review panel meets monthly. The panel discusses designs, architecture, site plans as they come in. So the panel will look over the plan with the developer, make suggestions where appropriate, and then the architect or planner or whoever it is will go back and make those changes, hopefully. And then sometimes they come back to the committee. Other times there's no need for that. But the idea is that the design review panel's suggestions will get incorporated into the final plan. So those projects will be to the standards that Baltimore County and the community at large desires. It doesn't happen every time, but we found that the design review panel has been successful in other areas. And if anyone else would like to add to this, please feel free.
Hey, Joe, this is Marta, and I'm a design review panel coordinator. I just would like to add to what you said that design review panel reviews any exterior renovation, upgrade, or new construction. During a design review panel does not often comment on the interior renovations, but also review the floor plans. But the most design review panel is concentrated on the exterior design of the site, the building, depends what project proposes.
Thank you, Marta.
Is Matt D'Amico is here?
I believe he's on. I believe he called in.
Matt, would you like to add anything from your point of view? I'm not sure. Maybe he has technical problems. So basically, Joe basically did very nice overview of basics of design review panel, and I just would like to add that the design review panel consists of well-known architects, planners, engineers, landscape architects in the Baltimore County area that's familiar with projects and with Baltimore County zoning regulations, and also, like Joe said, all the comments are based on the zoning regulation, not the zoning regulation, but the appropriate regulations and guidelines and community plans. Prior to the meeting, each design review panel member review the project and prepare comments, and staff also prepare staff report on each project. And based on everyone's comments, at the end of the meeting, there are conclusions based on what project proposes. Design review panel suggests possible improvements or come back to design review panel for another review, or just some comments that could be reviewed after the meeting administratively by Baltimore County Planning Department. And then the final product is the product, which is the project that incorporates all of the professionals' comments on the project. That's kind of I just would like to summarize everything that Joe said.
Thank you very much, Marta. One question I think that may come up is, does the design review panel, or having one, does that add a lot? Does that add a big hurdle to the development process? So, is that something that we can answer here? Would it be like about maybe since it meets every month, would it be like, potentially a month slowdown, or can it be more significant than that? Or is there any slowdown at all? I just want to make sure that everyone here is aware.
So basically, it depends on the project and what project proposes. There are two types of review: full design review, panel review, and administrative review. And depends how big and on the scope of the project. We decide here in planning if that project needs to go for the full DRP review. And very often after the full DRP review, the project is much more improved. And from my perspective, it's beneficial for the business to have these comments from all of the professionals to incorporate into the project. And administrative review is when you propose smaller, not very big improvements, like on the smaller scale. And these smaller projects we can review administratively. But again, it depends on each project, how big, what the project proposes, what the applicant wants to achieve. So basically.
Okay, thank you very much, Marta.
Sure.
Are there any business organizations that would like to talk about this, maybe offering your perspective on what this might mean for you or for another business that might hope to locate in Dundalk?
Hi, Chef. As the Old Dundalk Neighborhood Association president, the only thing that I feel like I can add to this is I'm thankful to be here to sort of maybe speak for our neighborhood, particularly in the Old Dundalk section, because our neighbors, sorry, I made a note, our community has really strong feelings on what things look like in our neighborhood. It's a historic neighborhood. It's sort of always a challenge to get people on board. And for businesses, I feel like it's going to be helpful for both of those things to marry together, because I could actually see people in the neighborhood being angry if something didn't look like it fit here or something like that. So I'm thankful to be here to maybe try to speak for some of our neighbors and kind of coexist.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Any other? Oh, okay. Do we have a comment in the chat? She says, Amy Mante, when finalizing the design guidelines document, the group can categorize different types of projects as those only needing administrative review, or projects that are more complex and would require full design review panel review. Are there other perspectives from the business community here tonight that we would want to, or that we do want to consider as a part of this discussion? Feel free to chime in.
So this is Stephanie Jameson. I'm a business owner on the Main Street, and I don't know that I really have I'm here learning. I haven't had a lot of exposure to what the conversation is. I'm just sitting here thinking, how many requests are we getting for new projects, and what type of development work is being done to bring projects to the area? I mean, at this point, we're just waiting for someone to bring us an idea for a new business. And so what are we doing to try to develop more ideas for businesses, or to actually encourage businesses to come to the Main Street and the Dundalk area?
So as far as the county goes, we have those incentive programs that I previously mentioned. So for the county's perspectives, it is kind of promoting those programs more, perhaps, or going through a process like this too, in determining whether we would want to.
So I wonder, does this process then maybe put us on the map for developers that might want to buy a block of properties and do some development, or buy the vacant grocery store that's not big enough to be a grocery store of today's time, and possibly develop it into something that would be viable for our future, instead of everyone worrying about we don't have a grocery store, which is a bad thing. What can we have? What can we do? Do you foresee this bringing more people to the table if we have a review panel area?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't know if I'm the best qualified to answer this question. I do know that there's a big need for a grocery store in the southern part of Dundalk. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That is another discussion to have. But if there's anyone that would like to chime in on that, I think that would be a good time.
We in Turner Station have great concern about being in the food desert. We have a lot of seniors in the Greens at Logan. A lot of seniors are there. Now they either have to catch a cab or get someone to take them to Merritt Boulevard to do grocery shopping. It's just not anything around. So I certainly hope that even though the grocery store, and then it's the one space in Dundalk where San Antonio's is, and then you say it's not big enough for a grocery store. But I think that still needs to be some consideration, because it caters to the entire Dundalk area. And we as Dundalk, being as we are, we should not be without a supermarket or grocery store. We really shouldn't. So I'm hoping that will be something that could also be considered for this, even though it may be a little bit out of the scope, but I certainly hope that it's kept in the forefront.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Gloria.
Joe, I have one more thought. It's Stephanie again. I just wanted to mention there's so much development going at Trade Point Atlantic, and at some point we need to try to bring some of that, the people who are working there and have to have somewhere to live, and, they need to come to Dundalk. And so, again, if we have a design review panel, are we going to allow ourselves to be looked at as a place to develop, or are we going to be stagnating, folks who might want to do some development in Dundalk? And I don't know the answers. I'm not a planner. I'm a property owner, and I want my property values to go up. And, so how would that be accomplished, or what could we do to work around those types of? Maybe that doesn't fit into the conversation. I'm not sure.
Yeah, as the design review panel relates to those comments, I would just say that, any positive outcome would take a little while. So you might not realize, the benefits of having the design review panel right away. It would come in the kind of overall character and architecture of the area, a few years down the road as more developments come in, and that in turn would make the area more desirable for businesses and people. So it's a little hard to quantify, I think. We do have those other incentives that are more quantifiable. Amy mentioned in the chat so going back to our discussion on the design review panel area, we are thinking that it would be best to have the Main Street boundary and the commercial district boundary overlap with the DRP, the design review panel. The group may also consider designating a smaller area within either of those existing districts as a pilot or trial area, with hopes of expanding later. So I'm going to go back to the map so we can get a sense for where we're talking about.
I would add that we should include the Logan Village Shopping Center, which is a massive wad of parking lot right now and crumbling buildings. And as far as if you're looking for a space where a developer could come in and do something that would be either hideous or exciting, that's actually a piece of property where something new could happen. Most of the area we're talking about, it's unlikely. The Dundalk Village Shopping Center, has historic restrictions on it. I mean, there are smaller buildings, and yes, there are small storefronts that might be altered in ways we wouldn't like. But as far as real property development, that's a huge parcel. So.
Could that be added, Joe, with the expansion?
I believe that's out of my realm of abilities. I wish I could do that. Maybe I can. Maybe we can talk about that. That would be great.
Joe?
I think that might be somewhat political.
Oh, really?
Joe?
Yes.
It can be added. I mean, that's something the group can talk about as you kind of go through this process of looking at what the design guidelines are, the ones you have that exist now, and, how you'd want to expand both the area and those guidelines. I mean, I haven't looked at the guidelines completely, thoroughly, but the ones that exist now, but I would guess that they probably don't outline guidelines for projects that would happen someplace like Logan Village Shopping Center. So that would almost be new material that we would need to work through.
Is that area in a commercial revitalization district right now, or so it's not? So we would also need to designate it to be a CR district as well as a DRP district.
Right.
Got it.
This is Vicki from the chamber. I want to kind of echo one of the things that Stephanie said in that, I'm still learning and trying to understand how all this kind of integrates. So if I'm a little on the quiet side, it's because I'm still trying to figure it all out in my mind. But I do know one of the things that I'm hearing from businesses and from individuals is that safety and drugs is still a huge concern in the Dundalk area, specifically in the historic region there. And I know that keeps, a lot of people out. So, I guess our safety concerns is also going to play a part in how we continue the revitalization efforts. And I would also agree with Amy Menzer about Logan Village. To me, that's a prime spot. That's something really significantly happening that should, because it's just such an eyesore too. And to me, it's also a danger because you're just watching it crumble, just waiting for kids or somebody to be standing or fooling around and something happening. So I would completely agree with, what's been said on that.
And I also agree. I think the time is right for us to look at that, or for someone to look at that and look at it for review, because that is, the property is there. Certainly it's an open area. And Vicki, I understand your concern, or businesses and residents' concerns about drugs. And I think if we bring more in, we could also tackle that at the same time and just continue to tackle it. So I would not look at that as a deterrent. I'm looking at that as an opportunity for us to tackle that with more of us tackling those issues as far as crimes and drugs and homelessness all communities have it somewhere, but is it whether or not it's in the focus point where it's so obvious or what have you? But I think that certainly could be an opportunity for us as we expand. And I'm certainly encouraging the expansion of looking at the scope of the area because it feels like, it's not inclusive. So I certainly hope, Joe, that you go back and the planners that's on here, hear our concerns, hear our putting that in the design as well. I think it would be a great opportunity.
Would anyone else like to add to this discussion?
I think it would be helpful to learn more about how these have worked in other places. So I don't know if that's part of tonight's agenda or next time, but.
I think we'll get into that next time. At the next meeting, we'll be doing a tour, and then we'll be getting into kind of specific projects that the design review panel has looked at, and we'll do kind of before and after look at changes that they might have recommended in certain instances. So I think that would be a good topic for the next meeting. So I think we kind of hit on this other topic that we wanted to discuss tonight of focal points or nodes, but it's outside of the existing area, which is fine. That is just something that we'll want to discuss more as a part of this process. I believe we will also need to make some minor changes to the map as it currently exists, even not considering the Logan Village area, because as of right now, the Main Street designated area and the county CRD do not overlap, and I believe staff would like to see them overlap. And we would also like the DRP, the design review panel area, to overlap as well. So it would be like very minor adjustments to these two maps. You see that in the CRD, the Commercial Revitalization District, there's a tiny little triangle area at the northern end, whereas that does not exist on the Main Street map. So I know we have the power to change the CRD. I'm not sure what oversight we have in the Main Street designation.
You have to apply for a modification to the state, modification of the boundary.
Okay.
Joe, can you tell us what that triangle area that's on the county's part? What is that? Where is that?
Is that the McDonald's?
No, I believe that's St. Helena Avenue.
Okay.
And there's some shops. There are some storefronts there.
Okay.
Oh no, you're talking about the Commercial Revitalization District. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the McDonald's.
And where that small car lot is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess this brings up a good example. So using the McDonald's as an example, I think a lot of you may know it because we drive by it a lot. The design review panel would offer their suggestions on that. And if you look at it, it's basically a building surrounded by a bunch of parking lots. So the design review panel would have, say over whether or not something like that should go forward. And it might get you a completely different result. So I don't know if that helps paint a picture, but I just wanted to throw that out there as an example. Okay. I think we can save these other topics for next time. They're just things that we would want to ponder for the next meeting. I think we've discussed enough tonight. We've hit on the topics that we wanted to. So going forward, we need to establish when we're going to have future meetings. Today's the 7th of December, and I believe we are going to try to hopefully meet on Mondays throughout the winter, maybe having 3 to 4 more meetings in total. So I think right now we're just going to try to get the next meeting scheduled to where the most people can join that's feasible. So if there is if 6 p.m. works for everyone on Mondays, that's great. We can pick a date in January. If there is another time that works better for people, please chime in so we can take that into consideration.
I think the first Monday generally works, but the first Monday of January seems a bit brutal since that's like, you know, like January 4th. Just thinking, but if it's all right for other people, then that's fine. I know from trying to pull people together for meetings, if they're not paying attention to email for a week, they might forget about it or something, but.
I agree. Would January 11th at 6 p.m. work for people? Or not work? Okay, looks like I'm getting some comments. Okay, no one saying that doesn't work. So let's just go with that for now and make it easy. So January 11th at 6 p.m. And I will send out the WebEx invitation so we can all have that. And again, this slideshow will be going on the hub for this committee, and we will also be putting a survey on there. So I will just follow up with an email with that information. And I'm not sure exactly when the hub will become available, but I will let you know as soon as it's there. So if there are any other questions for tonight, please ask them now. And if not, then we'll close out this meeting, and thank you everyone for joining. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to turn off the recorder, and I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Joe.
Happy holidays.
Good night, all.
Happy holidays.
Good night. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.